My name is Devon Gilroy. We're at 99 South Street in Hudson, New York at the warehouse, where I have a mushroom farm called Tivoli Mushrooms. Tivoli Mushrooms started in Tivoli, where I'm a chef at Hotel Tivoli in the corner. It began with me, really my dog is what started this business. I would walk my dog and I'd find mushrooms, and so I found an oyster mushroom for the first time, like 5 years ago. And it blew my mind totally. It was just this log covered in golden pleurotus mushrooms, which have these like beautiful dimple, little, and they're bright yellow. It's killer. So I'd say walking my dog, finding that first flush was really what sparked my interest in mushrooms. To kind of go a little bit deeper, being a chef for over 15 years and working at a restaurant in New York City called Chanterelle, where David Waltuck was a pioneer in French cuisine, and I was fortunate enough to work for him, and he would prepare mushrooms, and it was something I always really loved. I was working in New York City. My sister and I, who helps me with this company, we grew up in a restaurant family. My dad has restaurants and in New York City, and I moved to go and learn and cook and be in the great restaurants of New York, and really worked out to be like 12 years of cooking there, to the point where I had opened restaurants and wanted a break. An opportunity came about upstate, and I moved up here to open Hotel Tivoli in the corner. What we know of as a mushroom is actually the fruit of a larger organism, which would be the mycelial body. So when you find say like an oyster mushroom or a maitake or chicken of the woods, that is an expression of the life cycle of the mycelium. So that mycelium has colonized that tree, the earth. It could have a microsymbiotic relationship with a tree growing out of the soil around it, like a chanterelle. So really what the mycelium is, it's a cloud, essentially, like a cloud that's microsymbiotic, like a chanterelle, relates to that oak tree. And it gives to the oak tree, and it takes from the oak tree. But it doesn't damage its host. And then you have some mushrooms, like the honey mushroom, that is more of like a parasitic fungi, which is known to go in and just kind of clear out everything. So mushrooms are an entity that colonizes a substrate or an area. That's what we're doing here. We're confining a substrate to a plastic bag with a set mix of ingredients, mainly American hardwoods and grains. We add our mycelium to that bag, and it colonizes that bag. And then, just like in a tree, where that mycelial body, as it is consuming that tree, when it reaches say the bark of a tree, and then it has that oxygen exchange or light exchange, it sends a signal to the mycelium to fruit. Starting a company and running a business that takes a lot of passion and focus, you're only as good as how much you put into it, and that real attention to detail that we have to, as chefs, we have to have with our food. We need to source beautiful product. We need to store it properly, prep it properly, cook it, and then plate it. Then your server or your front of the house manager will take it from there. It'll be placed in front of the customer, and they'll have a great time. So I think with the mushroom business, it's really that, but simplified, where I can go and source and forage and find a beautiful product, and I could take that and be a steward of it just for a moment of, this is great, I know the chef who wants this. You learn a lot about chefs by what they like. So the coolest thing about this is it's helped me evolve as a chef myself, and also like really bridge a gap for me with communicating with other chefs, because you're fairly isolated when you're in your kitchen. You know, you could be there 6 days a week. You can, you know, you're really creating in a bubble to a degree. And then for me now, it's gotten me out of the brick and mortar where, again, you know, you have a beautiful product, something that I'm so passionate about, and I could bring it to somebody and see them light up. It's the same reason I cook. I can make something delicious, give it to you, you eat it, watch your expression change, or, yeah, so they're very similar, but both organic. I've changed a lot, I think, myself and the people that I gravitate towards with getting into mushrooms. And I found that there's a huge vegan community that is using mushrooms like a lot of chefs utilize proteins. For me, being kind of classically French trained, you know, the protein is really the centerpiece of the dish. And now what we're seeing in this new move towards like a healthier, less protein-rich diet, I think for a lot of people, is mushrooms. My community is definitely leaning more towards health-focused restaurants. But then you have your kind of more traditional fine dining restaurants that don't necessarily conform to that, you know, the health approach. They use incredibly high-quality ingredients. So it's like you could have a chef that's going to use matsutake or porcini in this like beautiful, rich preparation that is just as good as like a really bright, clean vegetarian preparation that another person would use. So I'd say it's very broad. And then we have, you know, people who will approach us who are just the enthusiastic home cook. So we're really tapping into the whole gamut of consumer. We're fruiting our 4 different types of oyster mushrooms, chestnuts, pioppino, and shiitakes. And that's kind of our focus now, is going to be those basic mushrooms. Oh, they're not basic. They're all very interesting and need, you know, have specific needs, like, you know, whether it's lighting, moisture, temperature, air exchange. There's, you know, so many varieties of mushroom, and they all vary, and they all have different hosts and ideal environments. Right now, we need to focus on, just like cooking, you have your kind of critical points in that process. And the first one is, for me, what I can do right now is I can create a perfect environment, and then I can source these bags of substrate from an organic provider. Now, having the organic licensing is really, I think, really important for this. So we're going to source from Cap and Stem in Maine. They use American hardwoods, and then we're going to take that colonized bag and we're going to put it into our room. And once it goes into the room, like say like a chestnut mushroom, it takes from 21 to 28 days to fruit. So then, you know, you have to rotate. Say I need 50 pounds a week. That means at any given point, I can have 200 to 250 blocks just of that mushroom in our 600 square foot space. So it's very math heavy, and it's very, you know, it's all about rotation and control. So for me, I want to focus on fruiting and then processing it properly, harvesting it properly, packaging it nicely, and then distributing. And that's as much as we can take on now. Creativity is really something that is elusive. And I found that through cooking, you know, I'd rather focus on tradition over innovation. And I find that creativity is the inspiration through process. To really understand something and to be able to mold that into something that's personal, it takes years. And I think for cooking, for me, it's really been that. It's like I went from working in the city to calling farmers in like a little office. Like, you know, the offices just gets, like every year I was in the city, like the office got smaller and the restaurant got one more table. So it's hard to have creativity and inspiration when you're so isolated. So then I found, like, moving here, you're not just exposed to all this beautiful product, but you're really in touch with the seasons. You're inspired by the reoccurrence of specific vegetables, like tomatoes. When tomatoes first come out, it's like creativity and inspiration with a tomato that's like a perfect heirloom. I don't think there should be any. It's just cut it, put it on it. Like, get the best tomato you can, slice it simply, and dress it with sea salt and olive oil and maybe an herb. I'd say that I lean more towards simplicity than I want the farmer to come into the kitchen and say, look at this, and then for me to know exactly just by looking at it what it's going to be. That's my inspiration. And it's the same thing when you walk in on a flush, when you can smell a flush of chanterelles and you're like, smelling apricot in the middle of the woods is insane. You be in the woods, get a waft of apricot, and then you crest a little hill and there's oaks there, and it's just this like amazing flush of chanterelles. I mean, that's inspiration. And then I just want to take those and saute them so simply while they're super rich in that natural fragrance and sell it, or not even sell it, Sometimes I find mushrooms and like I have chefs calling me that want them, and I'm just gonna make scrambled eggs at home because I love them. But, it's only with process that I can have inspiration. What I've been looking for in this, in farming, is freedom. That's my goal. My goal is to grow food, support other people, to support my family, and my sister works with me, my mother's involved, Tommy, who's doing the construction here, they're all part of this. So I think for me, it's to give us as our own little group the opportunity to be creative and grow something, like literally and figuratively, and set an example for other people about how do you build an organic solvent business